Hello, my name is Salty, and I'm a motorcycle addict. Welcome to tonight's meeting of degenerates and a few honorable, uncorrupted souls, but that is still up for debate, which would make this political. So I'm back to the regular of sorts scheduled program. Let's shift into second gear on this weekend, let out the clutch, twist the throttle, and rip into this Sideways Salter Day special edition of a special guest. From within this Badger set, a different type of hole. Don't forget this is the off season. Please remember those of us riders suffering through winter with PMS, park motorcycle syndrome. Our bikes suffer too. I'm still trying to convince my wife that motorcycles are a good financial investment. She doesn't agree, but I'm willing to trade one basket case for another. Maybe you'll have better luck with her than I do. Let's sit back and talk about motorcycles, the lifestyles. It's all about the adventure. Most of all, remember, shopping ain't easy. If I wanted to ride something easy, I would have called your girlfriend. And on this Valentine's weekend edition, please advise make sure you make good decisions, buy you some motorcycle parts, and engaging in extracurricular activity. Use care to prevent a gift in 9 months. Moderators, please control the trolls and engage upon with politeness and positivity, an added dash of sarcasm and ill-mannered humor to enlighten the rest of the chat. If that troll makes a choice to re-engage the moderator or myself, it is his choice to carry on or terminate. If it is directed at another person in the chat or that is not present, or if that statement is vulgar or threatening, terminate. Otherwise, try to de-escalate before dropping the hammer. These are the rules of engagement. Without further ado, there's tonight's special guest edition of Salty Badger's Chopper Talk. Tales from the Road is coming to you live through StreamYard on YouTube from the Badger set and streaming to you on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. So my kids have no excuse to miss an episode unless, of course, I just plain bore them. And if that's the case, I understand. With that, let's get on with tonight's show.
Salty Badger arriving.
All right, tonight's guest is backstage, and I don't want to keep them back there any longer, so we're going to get started with the show. Coming to us right now is Hey everybody, we got Frank and Mike here from Pedro and Betty's Big Revival. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. How about you?
Not too bad. Thank you guys for giving me your time on a Saturday night, coming in here to talk about motorcycles and coming on the show. I appreciate that. It's good to have people in here, and I think you guys have a good thing going. I like everything that I've seen on there that you guys got going. It looks like you're coming back from a very big weekend. So
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So I have a question kind of I thought of right off the bat. What's the meaning between Pedro and Betty's Big Reveal? How'd you guys come up with that kind of name? I told you I'd stick to the questions that I know you right off the bat. I'm sorry.
Right off the bat.
Oh, I lost the mic.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Go ahead. All right. Pedro candy. He's just going to be eye candy then, I guess. We'll keep trying it. So Pedro and Betty is the name of our personal choppers. The Big Revival portion of that comes from the fact that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, Mike's bike, Betty, at the time, the name of that bike was LTC, but it was in a flood in St. Albans, West Virginia, and it sat for 2 or 3 years just kind of waiting to be rebuilt. And I ended up moving into this garage space, and we had space for 2 bikes and 2 tables. So we got them both in the shop on tables and started cutting them apart and building rigid hardtail choppers. And the Big Revival came from the fact that we got tired of just texting people pictures and videos and thought, hey, let's make an Instagram page. And in true fashion, I said, "Hey, man, just come up with a name." And so, when the next day he said, "Hey, here's the link and the login info for Pedro and Betty's big revival," and that's what it's been ever since.
I like it. It's kind of the natural organic kind of popped in. Um,
Yeah,
I've noticed you got quite a bit bigger following on Instagram than you do on YouTube. Hopefully, this helps out with that a little bit, and people start seeing
yeah.
this and maybe give you a little more scopes. I've been sharing a lot, trying to get that out there. So,
Thank you very
uh,
much.
what what was kind of each of your guys's first memorable motorcycle experience?
Oh man, can I'll go first, and then we'll see if you can hear Mike.
Okay,
If all else fails, we'll just take the AirPods out of our ears.
okay,
So my first real memorable motorcycle experience was our first ride together. I won't get into it because I know we'll get into it in later questions, but I met Mike. I didn't have a bike. He had a VLX 600. So I went and got one. And then before I ever learned how to ride it, we cut it apart and put a hardtail strut in it and bobbed it out pretty hard. And then the first trip we took was up to Ohio to, what was the name of that shop that was closed? Anyway, we decided to ride up near Columbus, Ohio to see his brother Dave, and that was my first like actual big ride with anybody. Like I think I'd been riding a bike for like maybe three times by myself before that, and then we took off on a halfway decent 3 hour trip. So that's my first real big experience that I haven't looked back since.
yeah. That's usually the way it is when you get started on one. You get kind of stuck in this, and it kind of draws you in.
Yeah,
Um,
or completely takes over your life.
but yeah, that definitely happens, 100%.
Yeah,
I can live with that, and I've introduced my kids all to it, and that they have the same problem.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
So
can
what about
I
you?
can I could there for a second. Oh, still nothing,
Nothing. Nothing.
nothing. Oh, so is it that you guys got earbuds in, don't you?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We
Is it
tested them. We tested them before we started, and they were working. We can just pull them out and see if we can just go with a natural audio.
okay? Let's try that. Sorry.
Here, here. It's all good, man. Show it.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Can you hear me? Nope, I can't hear you. Now I can't hear you at all.
How about
There,
now.
I can hear you now. There we
all
go.
right?
All
Good.
right.
Perfect. Perfect.
Now I can hear you both.
Perfect.
Sweet. So my first experience was we used to go visit family friends back in like the early '80s, and these guys were all like my cousins, and their dad was just into everything motorcycles, and they just had a basement full of dirt bikes, street bikes, you name it, and they threw me on the back of I believe it was a Yamaha XS 250, and just ripping around their backyard. And I was thinking, man, how cool is this? And I would love to have one of these machines. And then about 15 minutes into it, yeah, he laid it over, and I got my first exhaust pipe burn on the leg. So I was hooked. Yeah.
Yeah. It burn it right into you, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So who is each of your guys' biggest influences in regards to motorcycles?
Mine's kind of twofold. As far as motorcycles and of themselves, it might sound weird, but I'm gonna say Evil Knievel. Um,
That was our generation.
yeah, not just for the sake of things being sketchy, but that dude single-handedly had all the neighborhood kids across the country setting up ramps, jumping, see what they could do, pretending their bicycles were motorcycles. That's what it did for me. That was the I guess, passion linked towards them. And then as far as actually building bikes, I would have to say Endon Larry, just his vision for bikes, the simplicity, how stripped down they were and how mechanical they were, not trying to hide, the functioning parts or whatever, but actually bringing them to light and making them a display and a showpiece on the bike. So yeah, that's my two that I gravitate towards.
I think my biggest influence as far as building bikes would be Tom Fugel. I really, I got into the history of him and his legacy and his builds a few years back, and it's really, really kind of taken a hold to the way I see things, especially the way I want to build.
Nice. Those are definitely good influences and good visions to have when you're building. And you just kind of, I love the Honda chopper thing. That's cool. I mean, I like everything on two wheels. They don't have to be Harleys, but
right.
Yeah.
You see so many Harleys, so many panheads. I mean, I love a panhead, I love a knuckle, but you see so many of them. And to see something differently done once in a while, it's really nice to see that.
Yeah.
So, what drew you guys into the journey of the choppers and the social media together, doing that whole journey there? What brought that idea on?
Well, it was kind of like Frank was talking about earlier. My home had flooded. My shop that I kept my bikes in had flooded. I had a couple bikes sitting underwater, and we decided, Frank's got this nice garage space. Let's get some tables built. Let's do to these bikes what we've always wanted to do to the bikes. And then, like he was saying, it gets a little tiresome, trying to communicate via text and stuff like that with so many people about what's going on with the build or if you're, trying to reach out to friends with questions or whatever. So we were just talking about it and we were like, hey, let's make a Instagram page where we can share this. And then the goal from that became, we want to try and encourage other people to start turning wrenches and get their hands dirty, get out there, mess with your bike. If you're wanting to do a build, there's no better way to do it than to start doing it. So we try to be meticulous with descriptions we give. We try to really post, a lot of pictures along the way of the steps we take on things that we do. Just to further that mindset, not to be afraid to get your hands dirty, turn a wrench, chop something up and go for it.
Right. I mean, you can just about learn anything from the internet. You got to kind of be careful what you watch, but you can just about figure anything out and be self-taught from the internet.
Absolutely.
So, and there's a lot of good people that put out good content on just doing choppers and everything. And I love it because I like to see it. I like to see the passion grow. I like to see everybody enjoy it. That's why I like getting involved and even giving one of my viewers a chance at that chopper giveaway, because I just want to give that passion once somebody get somebody else hooked into that chopper passion. I mean,
that's what it's all about.
Yep, it's definitely different. So, how long have you guys been friends? And is it the motorcycles that brought you together in the bond?
We've been friends 15-ish years.
It's about 15 years. Yeah.
About 15 years, and actually, music is what brought us together. So, we were both going to the same church and playing music together, and he would ride his bike in, and that's how he suckered me into the addiction. But we've probably put maybe a couple 100,000 miles together on the road together in the 15 years. I mean, we've ridden all over the place.
See, he needed a partner in crime, and you were the easy bait.
Yeah,
I'm always.
Yeah. No, it was funny. We had band rehearsal one night, and I had ridden my chop to rehearsal, and I walked out the door, and he's not only standing right at my bike, but he's taking pictures of it. And I'm like, hey, what's up, man? And he was like, dude, this thing's awesome, you know, and I was like, oh, you like motorcycles, you know, so we got music already. Now let's get into motorcycles. And motorcycles have I mean, we still love music. We still talk music all the time, get to play together every so often, but motorcycles is far overtaken
everything.
Our friendship. Yeah.
So, motorcycles have a distinct way of doing that. They can take your life over very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily for bad things because you don't have any money to do anything else. So you have to enjoy it some way or another.
Absolutely.
So what was your guys' first build together?
As Pedro and Betty's, it was our personal bikes. I would say technically our first build together was Frank's bike, Pedro.
The first version. Pedro 1.
Pedro version 1. Shortly after the incident with the photo taking and the bike lurking and all that, he calls me and he's like, "Hey man, I'm going up to Maryland.
Yep.
I found a sweet deal on your model earlier of the same bike you have. I want to do something similar to what you did. I'm going to pick it up. Can you come check it out?" You know, and so he owned a music store at the time. Yeah. So I went up there, checked it out with him, and then he had a really, really cool friend, a guy named Bud. Yeah. Had a shop, about an hour from here, maybe.
Yeah.
And Bud was a welder, and we pulled the bike in there, and we just started
cutting their apart,
cutting things and breaking things down. And so that technically was the first thing that we did together. The first real full builds would be our bikes, Pedro and Betty's. We started in 2021 here in this shop. Yeah. So, and then the charity bike, that's our third build together.
Nice. Yeah. That first time you take that bike and you cut that frame to make it a hardtail, when you cross that point of no return, it's like, okay, yeah. I got to fix this now, or I just made a bunch of scrap metal. We got to figure this out.
100%.
Yeah.
But then you kind of look at it, you got the back half of the bike and the front half of the bike, and they go, what did I do and why did I start this project?
Yeah,
so
it's crossed our minds numerous times.
So on a build, what is each of your guys' favorite part of the build when you're doing it? Like, what's your favorite part of that process?
You want to go first?
Yeah. So my favorite parts are the frame fabrication. I'm a welder by trade, or used to be, and so cutting the frame apart and then making it our own and welding that out. That fabrication step's my favorite. Also, I love electrical. Super in the circuits and the electronics of bikes, or just circuits in general. I've been playing with wiring things and taking them apart and rewiring them since I was a kid. So it's a passion of mine. And then maybe the third thing I like is painting. I'm not as good as as the other two, but I really like to paint.
Nice.
And be honest, is this the first time somebody's ever said that electrical is one of their favorite things?
Well, that is my favorite thing. This is my back screen, but that wiring thing back there, that is my favorite part of the whole build is wiring. I like
we found
I like hiding it. I like hiding it. I like making it different, and I like soldering it no matter how long it takes me to get the wires hidden and everything. I'm super meticulous about it. I actually really enjoy that part of it.
That's excellent, man. It's worth doing.
Yes,
right.
it is an oddity to hear that part of it. Most people, that's the part they hate.
Yeah. My favorite part of a build is the details. Frank will tell you I will sit and stare at the bike for hours. I like to take parts of the bike that nobody pays attention to and try to come up with something special for that part. not really to make it stand out, is more along the lines of like an Easter egg that you can find on the bike when you have time to look at it, when you're looking really close. You know, it's not just something glaring. And in that process, I love taking things that even aren't necessarily motorcycle related and turning them into usable parts on the bike. Something maybe somebody would look at and be like, I would never have thought I would have seen that on a motorcycle, you know? So that's what I really, really enjoy about it, is the detail.
Yeah, I mean, on my son's build, the one that I took the cycle showcase last year with my son, I let him design everything on it. You know, I just looked over him while I did it, and he picked parts out, and I'm like, there's no way that's going to work, but you want to use it, we're going to figure it out. And his bike came out really good. I mean, everything from the tires and everything on that bike, I was like, well, it's your bike. I'm not going to say anything. It's your image. And it came out exactly how he expected it and exactly how I never thought anything would work. And so I was just telling somebody the other day, I had the back tire off that bike 5 different times because making everything fit, we changed wheel and everything to make everything fit. And then the last time I was doing it, I put the tire on backwards. So I took the tire, had flipped the tire on the rim over. And when I took it off, I flipped the tire over to make sure I was putting it back on the right way. And then I bent down and flipped the rim over, put the tire back on the same way I just took it off. And I didn't have a tire machine. I did it all manual because I didn't want to scratch nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, I'll just flip by then I was so mad, I flipped the wheel around. I'm just going to put the wheel on the other way, except for the rotor side and the pocket side, the bolts, everything's different. So I did the tire again. It's one of them learning processes when you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had to take tires on and off many times over stupid little things. We get it.
So in your guys' opinion, what defines a chopper and what draws you to the choppers?
I have an easy answer.
Go ahead.
I mean, to me, the easy answer is a chopper is you have chopped the frame. You've made cuts to the frame, you've removed or you've added, you've gone in yourself, you've changed the structure of the frame, whether it's the rake and trail, what have you. But I don't believe that it necessarily has to be raked out. We love long front end chops. We do keep choppers stretchy. But the baseline for me is that you have chopped the frame.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of the way I am about it, because it doesn't always mean, I know the books say that it's when you rake it, that's what makes it a chopper. You cut the neck, but I think once you've cut the frame, now I think the designs that have come out have made it, because like diggers and all that stuff they're coming back around, and those weren't the classic raked out long necks. They're a chopper. It's just a different class. And I think bobbers are choppers, but they're just a different class.
Yeah. I think what draws us both to choppers is I mean, a big part of that's obviously the bikes. We both love custom things. I mean, down to just the history of everything we've done together between music and motorcycles, even when we weren't building and riding choppers and, riding our electric glides or whatever it was we had at the time. We were always doing something to them that, nothing can enter our hands and not get modified in some way. So I think what draws us to it personally is the fact that we can't leave stuff well enough alone, and we're going to mess with it anyway. But what draws us to other people's bikes or other choppers or other things is bottom line is it's art, and you can see, you can almost tell who a person is just by looking at the bike they built. And I really love that about it. Plus the culture, I think the, the way, just the chopper culture and the people that live within it, man. They're just some of the best people you ever meet.
Mm-hmm. There's facts on that, and that'll give, which that's in my own opinion, that's one of the things that in the shopper cause draws it to us. We're all in it together, and it, there's a small bit of competitiveness, but it's more of a wow, why didn't I think of that? Or you're looking at it more of that you're getting ideas from each other. You're not so much talking about the motorcycle, you're talking about the build and the process of it. You're not, and it's just different.
Yeah.
So, um, so what was each one of your guys' kind of damn I did this moment?
Wait, wasn't that last week?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was when Betty came down off the table. I climbed on her and started taking her up and down the road and out, riding her around, doing the shakedown runs and whatever. And that thoughts in your mind of, I built this. I'm riding it down the road and I built it. And that's something, unfortunately, I don't know how to say it. I would say that's a feeling the majority of the motorcycle crowd at large doesn't get to enjoy. You know, there's nothing to my thinking that can replace it. It's an awesome experience. So yeah, that was when I pulled it down off the table and started taking it down the road, and everything worked as it was supposed to, and I didn't have to put it back on the table and start doing other things. You know, it was that was a moment for me. And then of course
there's
weekend.
There's too many. I mean, this journey of building a bike. It's like every time you pull a bike off the table, it's like, holy crap, I did that, and it's on the ground, and it rolls, and it starts, and it runs. But I think my favorite one for me was this last summer. I put a 14 over front end on a stock rake on the front of my chop, and I liked the bike as it was. It had a 6 over front end, and I loved riding it. And I definitely got a damn I did this when I pulled it off the table. But when I threw that 14 over front end on the front of it, ripped the front brake off, and we literally like the next week took off for a whole week's trip down in western North Carolina. And whole time I was riding that bike, I was grinning ear to ear, just slamming the thing in the turns, going, I built this, 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 I'm not dying, I built this, just over and over again. We all wear comms in our helmets, so that's pretty much all they heard was me screaming yeehaw and leaving them.
Right.
True
That's
story.
cool. Speaking of shakedown runs, that kind of reminds me of the wiring part of it. I was riding one of mine on a shakedown run to Milwaukee. It's a good 500-600 mile ride, and going through downtown Chicago in a rainstorm, the front headlight I thought went out, but it literally exited. But when it exited, it went down, hit the front tire, and started ripping the wires out of the motorcycle through the frame. And in a rainstorm on the side of the road, I'm rewiring my motorcycle. And I'm like, oh, this is fun. You know, it's pouring down rain. I got 5 or 6 people with me. They don't ride choppers. And I'm like, just go. I'll catch up. And they're like, we don't know where we're going. We were following you. I'm like, you guys have like baggers and you're following me. I can't see. My wife's riding beside me, and she'll cut corners off so I can get around because you always got that wide turn. They're like, why does your wife keep turning like that? I'm like, because if she doesn't turn like that, I'm going to take whoever's beside me right out because I can't make that turn. So, but yeah, she stayed on the side of the road with me, and she sat there the whole time, ran for parts so I could wire my bike and get going. So, but you have good and bad experiences on choppers. It's all what makes it part of the riding, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So, do you guys have an actual shop, or is it just kind of an expensive hobby that you do?
Yes. So it didn't start off. It started off as a really expensive hobby, but as we've built and keep building, last year we incorporated as a business, and we're working on some big plans for 2025, 2026, and 2027. maybe some custom parts and such, but we don't plan on building any bikes for sale or for anybody other than when we build them to benefit somebody. So one of the big goals that we had after we finished our first 2 bikes was we knew we weren't done building. We were going to continue building. And we knew that we wanted to make a way that we could do 2 things we love most in our lives is build motorcycles and ride them and help people. So what we're doing is figuring out how we can better fund that so that we can keep building these bikes and somehow make it pay for itself.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the chore right there. But I think that'll all come. You know, if you build it, they'll come.
Right.
That's how they say it. So something will happen where it'll work out. I still kind of try to figure that whole concept of how to make this expensive hobby not so expensive. But I enjoy it too much to give it up.
Same
So,
here.
what are you guys' your rider favorite bikes ride? Do you still have the ones that you built, the Pedro and Betty?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Betty, hands down, my favorite bike to ride. I've had multiple other bikes that I got enjoyment out of and great memories from, but there's nothing like riding the one that you built with your own hands. And so I've had that bike. That was actually my very first bike. It was it belonged to my brother, and he gifted it to me for Christmas one year. He had moved up to something a bit larger, and so that's the first bike I had. It is still the bike I enjoy riding the most.
Yeah, same for me. My bike, my Pedro, my bike, my chop, it's hands down my favorite bike. I've had many other bikes, and I always came back to that one. What's funny is I've got a 2008 Electra Glide that's been sitting in my shop unridden for 2 years. Well, actually more than that.
3 years.
Almost 3 years.
Yeah.
I bought that bike because I felt like I needed a big bike, a road couch to take these monster trips. I got this bike finished, pulled it off the table, and like 3 days later left for a trip and realized that was the stupidest thing I ever thought. I just like the bike. And like you said, once you build one and it becomes like you bleed on it. Once you've bled on your bike, it's kind of your favorite thing.
Yeah. You can always
Dogs in the shop.
Oh, you're fine. You can always build a bagger chopper.
I've thought about it.
I got
I've definitely. You can search my Google history. It's definitely there.
Like Beaner had. He had the bagger chopper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That purple one. So, would you say you kind of already mentioned this earlier? Would you say the chopper crowd is different than the rest of the motorcycle community, and how would you explain that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. And you kind of touched on it too. What our experience has been is that by and large, especially going to the shows we've gone to and getting to meet some of the people that have been, doing it for a while or are full time into it, they're in the industry or however you want to phrase that. Everybody's been really free with the sharing knowledge, respecting what you've built. We've had guys come up to us that all they do is British bikes, or all they do is Harley Davidsons or whatever, but they'll take the time to spend with us as they think it's just so cool that we're doing Honda choppers, and I think that's a variance from the motorcycle community at large. The chopper crowd just seems to be I guess more accepting and sharing of knowledge, and just appreciating, even if it might not be their cup of tea, they respect the fact that you had the vision and the skills with your hands to make it happen.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah, yeah. The sad part about the Honda thing is all of a sudden, like the CVs have a sudden quite. Everybody wants them now, so now they're worth a bunch of money. They brought big numbers out of them, and I'm like, man, I wanted one of those. I wanted to shop one. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Same thing
uh,
with shovel heads.
yeah, everything. It's everything. Just everything. As soon as you decide it's cool, everybody else has already decided it's cool.
Now it even seems like iron heads are starting to get super popular and expensive, which blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm a huge ironhead fan. Sportsters and ironheads, I like them because they're easy to chop. They're all contained and they're easy like that. So speaking of choppers, your latest reveal at Cycle Showcase has a special story. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that bike?
Yeah, absolutely. So the bike is 96 VLX Honda Shadow 600. It is not being built. It's been built. We finished it. It's been built for the Sweet Julia Grace Foundation. It's kind of a cool story how we got connected with them earlier. As we were talking, I mentioned that once we finished our first two bikes in the shop, we knew we wanted to continue building, and we were already looking for somebody, some organization, some way to build a motorcycle and raffle it to help somebody. I'm a photographer. That's my full-time gig. And the Sweet Julia Grace Foundation had hired me to come shoot some family portraits at one of their fall festivals here in Hurricane, West Virginia. And I went, and it was within 15 minutes of hanging out with these families and these kids that I knew that I was never going to charge them for work ever again, but B, we were building the bike for them. And I didn't even talk to Mike yet about it. And as I was leaving that festival, packing up my gear, I told Sarah Knight, the founder of the foundation, I said, "Hey, we're going to build you a chopper." And she just kind of looked at me like, "Okay, that's cool." I guess she thought maybe we were building her a helicopter or something. But yeah, so that's how that started. So this bike has really become near and dear to our hearts, because not only did we make the decision to build it for these kids, but we actually got to go work with the kids and go to a couple events and hang out with them and really just fall in love with the families. And it's going to be an ongoing long-term relationship for Pedro and Betty's and the Sweet Julia Grace Foundation. But that's the story of the bike. And the even cooler part of the bike was, as we started to tell our Instagram family that we were doing this, so many people said, "I want in. I want a piece of this. I want to jump in with you." Just like the donor bike was donated by John from Gaddy's Garage in Florida. They drove all the way up from Lake Worth, Florida, almost a year ago this week, and dropped it off to us. Then spent the weekend with us, and we all tore it down together and welded in the single backbone together. We've had huge pourings of help from TJ at TJ Brutal Customs. I mean, Anthony up at Old Cool Choppers. There's so many more. How many more?
Yeah, lots of people, lots of individual people have sent us various parts. Just kind of the, hey, if you can use this, cool. If you can't, cool. But we thought of you and thought you could use it. Our friends Cal and Kate out of New Jersey. We made up, I don't know how well you can see it back here, but we just made up a little mock sissy bars just so he could get measurements off of and sent out to him. He said, "Hey, I want to make you guys a stainless custom sissy bar for that bike." Made a little mock-up so he could get the measurements off of and send it out. And then he asked us a couple of questions, and we got this beautiful polished stainless
sissy
work of art back. And
then our buddy Jeremiah, CK Meaty J, offered to paint the tins. So that awesome paintwork that everybody's been drooling over was completely donated by him. So, and I mean, we could probably be going on another 30-40 minutes just talking to everybody who donated something. So, not only is the bike not only is the bike helping these kids with the money that we raise, but it's really kind of even brought some of us together closer, which has been honestly, one of the favorite things that I found with Pedro and Betty's is the core group of people that we've come to get close to, and the people that we meet. It just keeps growing and growing. You know, like we just with the cycle showcase made a handful of new friends, and now they're, you know, they're chopper friends. So you know what that means. As soon as they're chopper friends, they're chopper family. So
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I had most of the people I've had have a common thing. The cycle showcase that have been on my show. We've all kind of been there. We all love it. Randall's even been on my show. John from Guy's Garage. That's kind of how I found you guys, was through him. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And you guys like rode all the way from there to Cycle Showcase. Spent the weekend. You guys all spent the weekend together. That had to be a great time.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's what the chopper family does, man. Like we had a need. We we didn't have our normal transportation available for the bike. John drove well out of his way, like
about 4 hours out of his way.
You know, all the way from
to make sure our bike could get there.
Florida picked our bike up, and then we all drove out together. I mean, that's pretty much paints the picture of what we do.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, it's somebody will reach out and help you no matter what in this community. Yeah. So you said you were raffling this one of a kind custom chopper off for charity. I shared the link where they can get it in the side chat there and all that stuff. I've been sharing the link, but how long do they have to get entered before that ends? And can you tell us a little bit about the charity? I know it's for kids and everything, but maybe a little bit of the charity stuff.
Yeah. So the bike's, again, for the Sweet Julia Grace Foundation. It's a organization that helps kids or families that are in medical need, or kids that have medical needs. It's really hard to say specifically exactly what they do with the kids and their needs, because they just do so much. So anywhere from building a ramp to be wheelchair accessible somewhere, or helping provide a wheelchair that has freaking tank treads so they can go hiking hunting. I mean, you name it, they meet the need. So fundraising and raising money to help support those needs is a big deal. In order to get a ticket for the bike, you can go to www.sweetjuliagrace.org/chopper, and that'll take you right to it. And that's the easiest way. Or anybody can hit our Instagram page at Pedro and Betty's for more information, or their social media at Sweet Julia Grace. Yeah. Ticket sales were actually supposed to end yesterday. Sarah, mostly because of this podcast and because we've had some local news interest, she's extending the ticket sales until the 19th. So everybody has up until the 19th to buy their ticket. They are $25 a piece. The raffle and all the money is completely being managed or operated by the foundation. So 100% of every dollar you put into that raffle ticket goes directly to help these kids. Yep. We're not making a penny off of it, and that's honestly the way we wanted it and why we set it up that way. So again, they have until the 19th, and that's www.sweetjuliagrace.org/chopper.
Okay.
I got it. Okay.
All right. So what about, so do you guys have like any merchandise or anything that can help you guys out? Like, you got t-shirts, any kind of merchandise in your swag shop yet or anything?
We do have some swag, some merchandise. We're in the process of working on some ways to make that more readily available. We have a web page that we're currently working on that's going to be a merchant site and some stuff. Yeah. Okay. Got some things in the work, hopefully sooner than later. But right now we've got some t-shirts and a crap load of stickers. We're just putting together the easiest way to make them available to everybody. Once we have that up and running, we'll make some big announcements on our Instagram page, and we're hoping in the next few weeks we get that going. Yeah.
Big deal. Have you guys been kind of sharing the stuff to the YouTube stuff too, or is that just kind of you doing more of the Instagram, or you're going to do both of them?
Long term, we're going to do both. we had big plans for our YouTube in 2025, and be honest, we both got
2024
or 2024. I mean, last year, and we both got too busy. I'm making excuses here, as some of my friends would say, but I do photo and video as a full-time gig, so 2024 was a huge year for me with that, and it really took up a lot of my time for production. And Mike was slammed with some other things too, like weddings and stuff like that. But we have definitely have plans to continue growing that and working on it. We actually have spent. Holy crap! What was that? Dog! Our dogs are destroying the world. We're working on some pretty big plans for 2020. This is 2025, right?
Yeah, it
for
is.
2025. Oh
That's
my
what
God.
happens.
So many years.
That's what happens, man. It happens that way. I lose track of the years and everything, especially when you start working in the garage, because a project can take a 6-month project can take a year, and it just takes a long time.
Absolutely.
So, would you say the chopper scene is making a comeback?
I would say yes. From what we see, the shows we've been able to attend, and just what we see on the road, it sure appears like it. Seems like the interest is growing. We're starting to see even in our area, which has not been, our area is not very big for choppers, but we're starting to see a bit more of them running around, and then through connections, through either being at shows or meeting people, and then they're like, "Oh, you're from West Virginia? Do you know so and so?" And we're like, "No." "Oh, well, they live in the same town you do, and they built their own shop." And then we start finding out that these people are around, even if we haven't seen them on the street. But it's becoming apparent that there's more of it around here than we thought there was,
right?
Which is cool. But it seems like the shows are growing. I know a lot of them are going from 1-day event to 2-day events because more people are interested in being there and seeing what people are building, and it's just those events are just fun to be at.
Yeah.
It's a good way to spend a weekend. But I would say it's making a comeback.
Nice. Speaking of chopper events, have you guys ever been to Smokeout Rally?
No,
we have not.
Yet. It's on the list of ones we need to go to.
I have not either yet, but that one's coming. That's not far from you guys, and that one's coming. That's a good chopper. That's a good chopper show. That's on my list. I'm trying for that one for this year again. So I had stuff come up last year that just stopped my production completely. So
yeah.
So I don't have a whole lot more, but what events might someone else catch you guys at this year? You guys got plans yet? Upcoming plans?
Yeah, we do. We will be at Fuel Cleveland in July. That's in Bath, Ohio. It's a fantastic event. The guys from Lowbrow sponsor that, and Mikey Revolt heads up all of that. We've ended there for the first time last year, and he was fantastic. Everybody there was fantastic. The first year we just attended, that's when we had just finished our chops, so that was kind of their maiden voyage, was riding up for that show. And so we'll be there again this year. We will be at Glory Days in Pittsburgh. That is in September, I do believe.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple people, like you were asking about Smokeout. We've had a couple people mention some different one to us that we'd like to get on the list. For right now, Fuel Cleveland and Glory Days are definites. And then we'll just have to look at
what we can get to,
what we can swing in there, because we got some personal bike trips and stuff like that, on the schedule as well. So we have a group of chopper friends that we like to go explore the mountains with for for a week.
Go to the mountains and do chopper things.
Yeah.
So.
That's good. I mean, they've got all sorts of stuff. You guys got a good riding area out there.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful riding. You mentioned the Fuel Cleveland, the Ohio, and the Pennsylvania one. Hey, just because it came to mind, have you guys heard of the party at the Penn East?
Really?
We heard having the East one this year at the Shawshank prison. Yeah.
Yes. Have you got into that? They're still looking for bikes.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
Yes. Last I knew, they were still looking for bikes.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
So if you go on the social media on their page, it was on. They had a post where they were still looking for some bikes if it was something you guys were looking for.
Okay.
Sweet.
So.
We'll have to. That's early June, right?
Yes.
Okay. We'll have to dig into that and check it out.
Yeah, I'm looking at attending that one too, probably because that's a. I like that prison. I like the prison idea of it, but the Shawshank prison, I've wanted to go there anyways to explore that area. So that's all I got for tonight. I can talk motorcycles all night. I don't want to keep you guys very long because I want to get you guys back and get back to your building awesome choppers and anything. You guys got any closing words or anything?
Get your hands dirty. Go turn a wrench. Do something to your bike. Ride it if you can. We always say if you can't be good, be good at it. Just don't
be afraid to
afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and dive in there, man. Just do something with your bike.
Right on. Well,
man.
Thank you for coming on. I'm going to look real quick and see if anybody that has anything out there. So the smoke out is like, somebody put the date out there. I forgot when it was. It was smoke out September 4th through the 7th. Somebody just mentioned that in there. A bunch of the people out there are chopper guys. So, but I appreciate you guys coming on. And I'll hit you guys up later and thank you. And I'm going to probably later on today or tomorrow hit you up before I raffle off that ticket. And we'll do that sometime tomorrow. I'm going to close out on that raffle and get everybody entered into that so we can get them a free entry for that.
Right on. Absolutely.
So,
appreciate you having us, Brian.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
No problem. I'll hit you guys up. I'm just going to go ahead and exit you out of the studio. I'm going to finish up the show, and then you guys can kind of move on.
All right. Take care, bro.
Appreciate it. Yep. See you later.
See ya.
All right, guys. Please make sure and check out their content. And if you like it, do all the fun stuff. Hit subscribe, like, follow, and get yourself entered into that entry. Get an entry into that raffle for that bike on the link I shared. I'm going to share it in the description afterwards, like I always do. But get over there and see what you can do. Even if you can't get one, get over here after the show and comment. If the comment, chopping ain't easy, and I will put you in for a free chance at the raffle. And I'm going to end it tonight just before midnight. I'm going to go through them all in the morning, and then tomorrow around noon, I'm going to draw somebody a chance, and then we'll kind of go from there. I'm going to have to get some information from you after I draw that. So I have a whole another show lined up for that, for the Live at 5 with a small channel, but we've been going at this for about 54 minutes, and it's been a good show. So I'm going to look over the comments and thank everybody for coming in. I appreciate everybody that came in and hung out. Hope everybody enjoyed the show. And with that, we're going to roll the outro, and I will see you guys tomorrow night at the normal Live at 5.
Right away. sweepers, sweepers.
All right, guys. So I hope everybody liked the show. This is a little bit of the after show. Thank you all for sticking in through the whole hour and enjoying it. I think they had a lot of good stuff and a lot of things in the aspect of having the show. So everybody have a good weekend and check in tomorrow night for the live at 5 and look around. Like I said, keep your eye out tomorrow for the drawing and make sure and go on after the show, comment after the show in the bottom in the description. Chopping ain't easy, and I will put you in for another drawing. You can go into Instagram, you can get in on my Instagram, you can go over and comment on the short. Still, you can get in multiple times. Right now I think there's a total of 50 on the wheel, so if you want to get more entries in there, just check out the social media, and please go over and subscribe to Pedro and Betty's Big Revival on Instagram and on YouTube. And I'll share that in the end. Thank everybody for coming in. Everybody get out and do something on two wheels, whether it's riding or working on them. With that, I'm going to hit some bunnies.